I had work, and then I had work.
Hey everybody, we're gonna get started.
It would be to scoot down, so you're gonna have to climb.
Alright. First off, big thanks to Flywheel for letting us do this. Grant, thank you. You're the man. Give it up for Flywheel. Tip the bar staff, they're doing the Lord's work. Also, the more you drink, the more comfortable I think you'll feel. That's probably bad advice. Don't listen to that. Anyway, I'd like to take a moment before we start just to reflect on the fact that we are currently on stolen land, namely the Cherokee, Shawnee, and the Chickasaw. All right, here's the spiel. This is a safe space for poetic expression. This isn't a place for bigotry of any kind. There will be no jeering. There will be no heckling. We are a supportive community. We're all here because we believe in the power of the word. Let's help elevate, not only with our own words, but with the words of our fellow poets. Let's be here for each other. Though we don't believe in censorship, content warnings for especially sensitive material are appreciated. And the open mic sign-up sheet is this adorable little chat book at the right here. I was going to say it's at the end of the table. It's right here. I'll have it sitting down there at the end of the bar table for you to sign up. But we're going to start with a feature. Memphis Lucas is a retail worker most days, but sometimes they are a poet who attempts to capture the feeling of completeness when alone and freedom when amongst others. The goosebumps from sitting by a bonfire, the chill of the morning air, and the morning dove coos in between. A lover of the unconscious written within music, a lover of the abstract, uncanny, and the unnatural. They try to ensnare such qualities in their own writing, though they don't believe they succeed all the time. When they are not writing, they are reading or listening to an artist's whole discography. That's the way to do it, by the way. But more than likely, you might just find them watching cooking videos and taking mental notes that they won't ever use. Everybody put your hands together for Memphis Lucas.
Thank you. Thank you for putting me on the spot, yes. It's been a while since I've been up here and read anything, so I'm a little nervous. But yeah, I wanted to do this feature because it gave me an excuse to write some poems, because I usually suck at doing that leisurely. So yeah. Not all the time, but I do know that some features have books in the word, like chapbooks and collections. I personally don't, but who knows, maybe this collection of poems I may read might end up something. But I think I may have went a little overboard, so if someone was to press the X Factor button on me, if I go over the time limit, feel free to do so. My Google Docs. I'm not one to want to force an interpretation or context onto my poems all the time, but sometimes I also like kind of explaining why I wrote some stuff, although I never really know why I wrote poetry or even prose any of the time. But for this one, I basically saw some dragonflies flying outside, and there's a deeper meaning about tradition and rituals and stuff, but I barely expanded upon that. But this one's called The Glass Between a Ritual and I. Staring up and out of my bedroom window, seeing across farm field and bleeding sky, as the last drop of daylight hides from me to greet someone else on the other side, I welcome them to watch the dragonflies dance. I see the weaving rose, the air shudders from oily, jutted winged caress, and disappear as they may someday, somewhere, for me to never know, to suddenly return in columns of bobbing and bows and reform into the rose. This dance has existed before us, a clear tradition, like mine in pouring rum into a glass. It's restful to appraise anything, these jeweled fascinations, what they are as time comes to a pass. This next one, the little context is that I personally don't really feel many romantic desires nor the desire to form a romantic relationship. So this one is called Amorous to a Being That Is Not, a rendition until I change it again, because I always change this poem. You sighed a disappointed thing, the fog of your breath like hefty steam. You saw me standing there unperturbed when I saw you standing there naked. I was not nervously transfixed by how your feelings moved your body, no abashed redness on the skin, no flush of anticipation, and I startled you to your core. For I could tell that your bones were aching for an intimate transformation. You wanted someone to make you new. The need from your bones to mold against someone else's, other bones that would not be mine anytime soon. I have heard your keening dream, for another to make you soft and to crave, like flies flooding and hoarding around a bloodied seam. You let loose love into other streams, a romance declared for what's to be deemed. I can never be an awaiting jewel in the deep, nor the warm blanket to place onto your body as you sleep. And as you desire my hands to hold calluses upon my palms from your skin, I desire my hands to be scorched from hot coffee in the tin. You can be your own apocalypse. You do know that, right? Your own recreation and undoing. Do you care anymore for the thing that follows you into your bedroom at night? It is there for you to love or to put down right. As it makes your heart beat with a limp, you'll need to splinter that up, darling. Smother yourself in bandage, release from the festered wound. Feel like the baggage of pharaohs left entombed. Will you let yourself be taken over, similar to the ashen bodies lying in Pompeii, forever cold and sleeping and left indefinitely afraid? The keening dream you turn to loathe before taking a weed whacker to a blue jay. Those two are actually both really old poems that I've since edited a little bit. The rest should be all new-ish. This one, the small context is just, I wrote a poem about mountain lions. So this one's called, You Told a Mountain Lion, Start from the Very Beginning. My mother was the mountain range, and my father a stag. No antlers upon my head, but a deep down and avaricious wrath. Sharp peaks grown out of my hands, my teeth are as sharp as my father's eyes. Steps low and glacial, like the size of the ranges, and a screech erupting from the mouth. The sound, a heavy cracking of the crown, or when a giant beast falls to waste on the ground. His regal head alerted the huntsman. Pourings of them enter the forest. Black smoke from torches lit for the darkness, and they tried to find me, to render me asunder with bullets and knives. But passive I lay as I meld to the fray, birthed from the earth. A low-hanging branch they pass as I still. My mother's warnings echoed low like a thundering hearth. For days next I screamed through the trees, my hymn, my song. It's an unnerving thing, this is not the song mountains sing, but I will show the green how I bleed. My father wails and his bellow quakes behind my digging teeth. So this next one's kind of a bit about how I feel about making poetry. It is a bit like a perfectionist thing where I compare my poetry to other people's, and when I see something like that someone else wrote, I'm like, oh, I could have done that, like, you know, the idea, but no, yeah, but it's basically about how I feel about writing my poetry. It's called The Only Lines Written Down Are That of Age. Also, this one kind of loops if you were to read it, so that's why it might sound weird. The only lines written down are that of age. Words, words, words that bubble to the surface of my face. Boiling up to the ceiling of my flesh, they exhaust themselves from my exhaled breaths before they can be born, while poets put them down, a raspity of sound, 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 onto the page. I, like the old farmer who could only put down his old hound, using a shotgun to splutter the buckshot of my overwrought ideas that are just around, around, around. Uselessly, I etched them onto a piece of wood stabbed deep into the cold, dark ground of my words, words, words that bubble to the surface of my face. This next one I actually wrote in a class I had with Mr. Matthews, but it's a little bit about like when my sister went to university. but I also just kind of wanted to explore different ways I can visually describe someone. It's called Foreign Feather. Black grackle hair flurries down the portrait halls. The pounding of your hurried steps on concrete is the same drumbeat as the ruffed grouse. Your tan skin of the thrasher, voice of the calling wren. All I know when you come home are your dark eyes, shaded like a twilight hour sun, hanging with beads of stars. And since the times you have come and gone, we keep a piece of soft cobalt safe and tucked away in a cage as we trace the floors for the mourning dove, robin, chickadees swathing the hard wood with the softest hints of lavender, the bitter tang of bleach always burning the wet flesh of the throat, but never reaching your possession as we pick up each feather. You know he and we sing your song as your western blue wings beat against the hemming and hawing of such unsettled flocks, sultry beside you in the shyest beams from the sun, piercing through the iron and gray cost. And when I reach there and find you have settled to travel back home without my knowing, I will arrive and stay to sing onto paper what I think of such a trifling blip in the taking of time. This next one is a bit about my deep love for music and also how it's been used, like not only like in its own like revolutionary ways it's been advanced and stuff, but just how it's been used in revolutionary ways. But this is called The Serif Don't Like It, Rock the Casbah. This also was made in the class I had with Mr. Matthews. The cicada of the world will never cease, as all sound swells in the marrow, causing the shaking of curves and bumps on the velvet flesh of our fleece. Screams, strings, raw-bearing keys, a testament to the earthquakes in our muscle and meat, yet to be silenced as the liquid of the soul. The dead quake with a familiar rasp we live and breathe and relentlessly repeat, a rasp let out during a newborn sleep and later to lease. Blind pearls within the night, watch your swaying hips, the shifting of feet against the teardrops of the trees, leaf litter taste the heels of pale ink. I see the bodies rise and fall, warm light on the porcelain grounds, attempt to swallow up the sound of hundreds of feet, yet they escape to the lamppost-lit street to grab, mold, and release, alongside each staccato made behind the other's teeth. I remember dancing to a crash of bass and piano, the beat a contrast to the glide of my shape and a touch of melomania, and turning up an accented tone. The world stopped to swell in my marrow until I remembered the sound of absence insisting its drone. This next one is kind of just the full entire context of this, or like maybe all the other ones you can have your own interpretation of it. The full entire context of this was that I was at work and I heard a transphobic comment from my coworker. They got respected until then. To a few, my name is a lie. It was indeed just an opinion, but all I know is the fact that I and everyone who came before me, who breathed, fought, died, and who'll come after I breathe, fight, and die, all of us on a single jagged line, where although no one could ever be exactly like you, you're truly never alone in your experiences and feelings throughout time, in the history you create now and in the future and past, where living is indeed the biggest, heaviest crime. All of us were hurt that day. This one is kind of legit about some people call them lightning bugs or fireflies, but this one's a little bit about how they're going endangered, and so I just decided to make a poem about it. It's called Death is the Cracking Glass Between I and the Fading Will-o'-the-Wisp. Standing up and crawling out of my bedroom window, I entered the vacuumed creation of space, soundless matter itching to carve through and to cease all for infinite renewal, pouring down and out of our face. Diaphanous spittle stringing to bottlenecks around the fire. The air shuddered and strained against restraint, against the obsolescence, a smoke forming itself sweetly in our lungs. Blank and alone is the night, the embers flying high. The twitching candles have ceased, folded in from the wakes in the farm field and hemming trees. And I watch as no longer bleeding, the lights then wink out underneath the moonless, gutted black sky, and I imagine what those whispers held before the sobering goodbye. So the next few are kind of works in progress, and I may end up changing them, but I wanted to try like an attempt at because I was reading some Walt Whitman from like this book Leaves of Grass, and sometimes they have those like it has one title but has sections to it. I try to do that, but it's more like a work in progress than anything, but I liked it enough to want to read it. It's called The Tree Stump Looks Like a Dog. Dribbling down like missile, the seeping knitted scrawls hanging themselves above, in a filmy red line equal in all distance, become the destination when sight crashes against the punctuations of groves, and the rising evening glow to sinking green become the spaces between the breathing paragraph. Roam, roam wherever, for the earth takes you as its mate, always upon the bed from deep down. Descending in the dark gray waters, shattered porcelain and fake silver wink up to the surface's eye, ready to gently take into their mouths, knuckles and fingertips, as a deep groaning bubbling hisses away like the clucking of a coffee pot. These things of glass hold no love, but for the oblivion of the ground and walls. Outside on the crackling path, long thick rivulets of hair spooling and weaving through cracked teeth, hooking around the roots, as I see birds yank, yank, yank to pull it free from a throat full of bright blood and gravel that cling to boots. The sky a piece of phlegm slipping down into night, when I see around the corner giant round whites of eyes seeing through my soul's horizon line, and I see it smiling in its maternal warmth at the sight. The orators are casting by firelight. And this next one, it won't show me the title on it, but I'm pretty sure I titled it A Visual on a Hillock Called Horizon, but it's also work in progress. I ended up changing all of it. But the dawn was embracing, kissing the ground. It was in the shaded blue of newborn mouths, quickly pinkening, breathing in exalted gasps and sobbing sounds. That aura of familiar lips, slowly coldening in warmth, long soon in death. The sun is yet to chase the morning like a comet racing against the beginning of accretion and the end of extinction. As the world shuddered in an inhale of song, night birds awaying and the morning commoners rising, one by one, then a sudden chorus, the trees a celloing quartet, and reminding me of itching sleep out of my eyes. I heard the bellowing cry of the doe giving birth in the same field, far away on my left side. Surrounded by my tent, similar to the walls of a womb, I lay still and listened to such a shared pained grief, the following silence being the animal's audible relief. Later, when I had finally risen out of my tent, I would see her flee from her fawn at the sight of a mountain lion, and decided then too was the time to leave. When I packed up, tacked little, and let him lead us where he knew best, the doe would trail behind me, marking 2 months of this on the day of her trailing after some lonesome carney. It's still technically a part of that same poem, but I have one more. Yeah, this next part, I may still change with that poem, but it doesn't have a title. But I have heard the tale of the new day and yesterday being married as if two people, yet singularly they share one form named the morrow. Children are they of the morrow their child. How beautiful it is, so divine if you believe, for one thing to be multitudes, all Janus space, to serve many different purposes, yet remain so completely whole forever. Even more so when no words are needed to be understood, no words exchanged at the sight of this colossal mountain range you can never reach, no matter how many steps are taken to its looming shadows. I, Little, and the doe had traveled for 3 days before we landed on a piece of horizon. It was nearing night. At the sight of 2 tents, there were 3 men sitting by a fire. The doe took off. Little huffed at the smell of their horses and man, and I turned him to leave, until one of them, a young one near my age, yelled, "Hello." The sound of his own voice and his form a tense dot by the flames, he didn't expect to release those echoes now laughing across the way. Yeah, that was quite the experience. It's just been a while since I read up here, but yeah, I'm really happy I got to share those with y'all. So thank you so much, Drew.
One more time for Memphis Lucas, y'all. Come on. Come on. All right, we're going to take a very short 5-minute break, so whoever did not sign up to share poems can change that. There's a sign up list over there next to those delicious cookies. 5 minutes.